evening, it's Donna Marie Geordie with the news at 5 o'clock. Coming up on this bulletin, the 100% Redress Party is set to become Donegal County Council's third biggest party with 4 seats, one more than Fine Gael. The National Women's Council say they're disappointed about the missed opportunity to reach 40% female representation in local government. Fine Gael are on course to take 2 seats in the Midlands North West constituency, and tributes continue to be paid to James Jimmy McKenna, who lost his life in a crash in the Moville area in the early hours of yesterday morning. These stories in full, plus more to follow. Oisín Kelly will have all the latest in sport, but firstly, Greg Hughes is coming in live for an update on the Letterkenny Local Election Count Centre from the Aura Leisure Centre. Good evening, Greg. There, can you hear us?
Good evening, Donna Marie. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, that's good. Right, okay, we are here still at the Aura Leisure Centre in Letterkenny, and we did a bit of a Facebook, X, YouTube update about half an hour ago, and even since then the situation has changed somewhat. So I'm going to give you an update as to where we are at the moment. Yesterday, here in the Letterkenny local electoral area, things were moving pretty smoothly. Donald Mandy Kelly topped the poll. Thomas Sean Devine of the 100% Redress Party was looking to get elected. Jerry McMonigal, Kieran Brogan, Jimmy Kavanagh, Michael McBride, all were either elected or about to be announced as elected after the 12th count. Then it transpired that there was 2 candidates that were very close in terms of votes. Mary T. Sweeney, after count 12, was on 1,010 votes. Kevin Bradley, independent, was on 1,015 votes, a difference of just 5 votes. Both of those candidates are of the view that if the other is eliminated and their votes distributed, that they possibly could, albeit not likely, possibly could overtake Donald Coyle and take that last seat. So as you can imagine, the odds are high. These are individuals. These are individuals with family, with supporters, and with thousands of people that took the time to put a number on a ballot paper for them. So there's a lot at stake. So with that in mind, Mary T. Sweeney, late last evening, stroke early this morning, in consultation with not only her supporters locally, but also the Ain2 leader, Pader Tobin, as is their right, they asked for a recount. Pader Tobin actually was speaking on the mobile phone to the returning officer in the Aura Leisure Centre here at 1 o'clock in the morning. After a bit of a conflab that went on for seemingly 15-20 minutes, Seamus Canning, the returning officer, says, OK, Mary T. Sweeney has asked for a recount. We're going to accede to that. So everything was paused back this morning at 10 o'clock. They started to scrutinise the votes and go through the votes. Remember, Mary T. Sweeney is trying to make up a shortfall of 5 votes on Kevin Bradley. Well, she did, and she pulled ahead of Kevin Bradley by 2 votes, and that's where we are at the moment. Now, the working theory here is that Kevin Bradley, with the level of scrutiny that had gone through with all of those ballot papers and all that type of stuff, was going to accept that result. My understanding is now that Kevin Bradley is thinking to himself, I've put a lot of effort into this. I've put a lot of years into the council. I've got my supporters and I've got those that voted me to consider. Would I regret it tomorrow morning if I didn't call for a recount? Now, he's not guaranteed for that call to be made, and I'm not sure if he's actually formally made it yet, but I do know he's giving very, very strong consideration, given the fact that he's only 2 votes behind Mary T. Sweeney and would be eliminated after count 12. He is going to be asking for that recount, as I say, not insignificant. And who's to say if 7 votes could be found for Mary T. Sweeney, who's to say a further 2 or 3 could not be found for Kevin Bradley? There's no point worrying about tomorrow. Worrying about it tomorrow was a phrase that was said to me. Kevin Bradley would be more confident, and I'm not saying absolutely confident, but more confident of closing the gap and overtaking Donald Coyle for that 7th seat, perhaps, than Mary T. Sweeney might be. That's what he said. Anyway, he believes the numbers, the votes could be in that box to see him over the line. So we have a couple of guests here before I hand back to Donna Marie. We've got Trudy O'Donnell, who is working here as part of a team and is joining us as well. And we've got also Doreen Sheridan Kennedy, who has been providing analysis for us throughout the course of throughout the course of the weekend. So, Trudy, I'll come to you first. Kevin Bradley has been thinking about this, and it seems to be now that if he hasn't, he is about to call for a recount. My understanding is he's already had a conversation with the returning officer along these lines, and it's not a fait accompli that he'd be given it. But to quote him directly, there's no point in worrying about this tomorrow. If he's going to do it, there's a window of opportunity, and we are in that window now.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that's really it. And he's also a sitting councillor. So, I mean, that's a councillor there that is in the council that is losing a seat. So I'm sure that's what he's thinking of as well by calling that recount. Again, I'm in absolutely no position to say whether he's entitled to it or not, but he's definitely entitled to call for that recount. I mean, we're down now to 2 votes. I mean, Mary T called the recount for 5 votes. We are now down to 2 votes, and I mean, if that was, again, the thorough count that went on here today, but I mean, I suppose we looked very much today at Mary T and her team in on top of that count, very, very much so today. We didn't see a high presence of Kevin Bradley and his team, you know, so I mean...
Well, if the returning officer, Doreen, and whomever actually ultimately makes that decision, if they exceed to the demand of Mary T Sweeney over 5 votes, and 7 have been found, so now there's a discrepancy of 2 in Mary T Sweeney. It'd be very hard for Kevin Bradley to be refused the right to the same process.
I'm only speculating now. I think he will be given that, because I can't see why he wouldn't, because...
I think he was given a sort of a verbal indication that it might not be acceded to.
Well, maybe they, in their re-examining of all the votes, which they've done, because it wasn't a partial tally, it was a full review this time,
today,
a full recheck.
check, yeah.
So therefore, they may have their homework done. So they may know exactly where the votes are going, and they may have that all calculated. They went back over those mistakes, they looked at them, so
yes,
they know
but
exactly what they're talking.
A lot of those mistakes were being identified by Mary T Sweeney's team. Who's to say they're not looking for errors that might favour Kevin Bradley? Well, Kevin Bradley's own team themselves might say, right, well, there's 2 out of 13,000.
Well, I think that they were looking today. They looked at everything, because we supervised some of the ones from the candidate we were supporting, and we were watching where the 2s were going. So everybody's was being looked at. It wasn't
everybody's, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't just Mary T's thing.
Well, it wasn't just Mary T's.
But Mary T called the recount,
yep.
And actually it's 10 votes now that were found. So she's 5 ahead of Kevin Bradley, not 2 ahead. That's the latest information. Yeah. I mean, she calls the recount. There's 10 votes found in her favour. No one anticipated that. There is nothing to suggest that a recount with scrutiny, with Kevin Bradley tinted glasses on, wouldn't find another 5 votes to swing it in the other direction.
Well, that's why I'm saying he's entitled to call for it, and I see no reason. But I don't have the book that has all the rules in it, because we're only speculating here at the end of the day.
But the precedent is there, Trudy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just for those who weren't listening earlier.
Yeah, and I think, again, now that we're up to 5, there's 5 votes where we started, and I mean, that's 5 votes of a complete turnaround. I mean, Mary T was 5 behind, now she's 5 ahead. So we still don't know where that's coming. We're waiting on anything official. And I mean, also keeping in mind, we don't know how this has affected any of the other candidates as well. It's not going to impact any of the outcome, I would imagine, but we don't know any other numbers that have changed throughout this whole count as well. It has happened.
Yes, that hasn't been announced yet, really.
Nothing has been announced.
So we don't actually know the order of where everybody is.
I mean, I think, but the big focus for all of us at the minute is very much so on Kevin Bradley and Mary T's numbers, you know.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen, of course we're going to keep our ears to the ground here. The situation as it stands is my understanding is Kevin Bradley has or is about to formally call for a recount. Obviously, that news, if it hasn't been delivered to the council staff, has been related to them, so they're obviously already having conversations.
They're having conversations
at the very highest level here, and that is very, very clear, because we saw something very similar yesterday. So we are going to let Donna Marie get on with the rest of the news, and we'll be back with an update. But suffice to say, Mary T Sweeney was about to be eliminated after count 12. There was 5 votes in it. There was a recount. She has moved 5 votes ahead of Kevin Bradley now, who would be eliminated after count 12, and then his votes distributed. He's saying, right, I'm not going to worry about it. There's no point saying I should have tomorrow. Now is the opportunity. The remains to be seen is whether or not he's given that recount. Did you want to come back?
Yeah, I did, because I think some people on the floor kind of felt that it was count 12 we started from. We went back to the very start. That needs to be clarified.
Yeah, absolutely. There was mention of that. No, that recheck today started from the very start. Every single vote
has been
in
looked at.
here has been counted. Every ballot paper has been out. There's been absolute complete transparency here. It's open, 100% transparency.
I'm not doubting that
so,
for a second.
yeah.
But again, were Kevin Bradley tinted glasses looking at all of those votes the same way
No,
Ain
they weren't.
eyes were? And
I don't think so either, to be honest. But I mean, keep in mind as well.
so I think there was one vote that favoured him, and 11
that we know of, yeah.
One vote that favoured him, and 11 that favoured Mary
But Greg,
Teesdale.
regardless of who is eliminated here in the next elimination, that candidate that is still in still has to get double the distribution.
But Kevin
to
Bradley,
Donald Coyle. He
Kevin
thinks,
Bradley genuinely. I says to him, I says, you would only call this, I presume, if you genuinely felt you could close that gap, and he believes. Now, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, a big call, right?
Big call.
And those are 2-to-1 in numbers required to close the gap, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not all going in these directions, are they?
But he's anticipating that that's coming from Mary T's distribution.
He seems far more
so,
confident that he could potentially.
Maybe he
close-
has the tallies on that, you know.
He might have.
He might have the tallies on that.
Well,
We
let's
were
put it like this.
underestimating him,
Let's
you know.
put it like this. He would have to get 101 votes.
To catch up
to
with
catch
Donald
up,
Coyle.
right?
I'd Mary T's big vote.
Yeah, so
Not a bother.
So he would have to get Mary T. Sweeney for every. I beg your pardon. Just stay with me here on this.
He
one.
actually might have lost a vote along the way as well.
For every 106 votes that Mary T. Sweeney were to get, he would only have to get double that.
He has to get double.
Yeah.
Double
But
that.
he's also down. He's also down a vote from that count there.
But
There
his
was-
talliers may have looked
They
that
may
far
have.
and might have been very good and very thorough. He's a sitting councillor. He knows what he's looking for, so he's
Okay.
not going on. He's not going on sort of on a horse that has no saddle. He knows what he's doing.
Right,
Yeah.
well, the conversations are ongoing, so that is where we're at. We are looking at certainly a request for a second recount here in Letterkenny. We're going to keep you updated, of course, because it is so significant and would put the elections to bed from a county-wide perspective. And there's a lot of interest in this. There's a lot of personalities involved in this. So as soon as we get anything firmer, and that's pretty firm speculation, having spoken to the people most closely involved in this, we're pretty confident that that is the lay of the land. So for now, we'll hand it back to you in studio, Donna Marie, and we'll be in touch with any further developments.
Thanks.